Gremlins. It opens on what looks like a normal town, but as we zoom out, it turns out to be a painting that is tilted on the wall. As the zoom goes out, the camera tilts back to the upright position. The house we are in looks more and more dilapidated. A man runs past the painting, and the camera follows him. He runs and hides in a closet. As he looks out in a panic, we see a shadow of what looks like a large hand reaching out behind him. We cut to the closet and the man screams. Cut to the title card. Frank and Ash are in a meeting room with Helsing, Loomis, Wendy, and Danny. Ash has a new prosthetic hand. They are going over all the events in the last movie, The Shining, explaining to Wendy and Danny that it must be kept a secret. If people find out, nothing good will come of it. They are shown to a room by a worker at the Holy Cadre HQ. Ash is congratulated for keeping the public safe and invited to join Helsing in his office to discuss his next case. Frank stays behind with Loomis. Frank tells the doctor how he feels. Ash was awarded for killing a man rather than saving him and killing the demon. To which Loomis responds that he had no choice in the matter. They would probably be dead if not for Ash. He adds further that Jack was not like Frank in that he was in control. The demon was in control as long as he was alive. Frank adds there was still a man inside. Loomis sighs and leaves. We cut to Ash in Helsing's office. He is congratulated once again before being given a folder with the name on it, Kingston Falls. Helsing tells Ash not one of them must be left. To prevent this from happening again, they must all be destroyed. Ash asks what, to which Helsing responds, he'll know once he gets there. Ash goes to the meeting room where he left Frank, finding him not there. He wanders, asking if anyone's seen him, and he finds him in a hall with 2 windows on either side. Frank is looking in on one of the labs. The lab happens to be where they wipe the memories of people who witnessed events. Wendy and Danny are there. The two discuss about how if it's all really worth it, and at that end, Ash says it's all for the greater good. Frank says he joined to keep people safe and save those who can be saved, and Ash responds that's what they've been doing. Frank turns to the other window, which looks out to the streets of Chicago. Frank asks what if Ash had been possessed? What would he expect him to do? Ash responds, kill him. Frank asks even if there was a chance his life could be saved. Ash responds, yes, but after a split second of hesitation. Ash puts all that aside and hands him the folder. Frank looks it over, says aloud what he reads. No one has heard from Kingston Falls, New York for a week. The only person that went to investigate came back rambling on about little green creatures. They need to deal with this as the National Guard has been sent off the scent for a bit, but not for long. They will have a group of 5 to deal with the issue. Ash walks away to prepare, and Frank flips through the files, looking out to the world. We see the trip there after they land and are driven to Kingston. Ash fits in with the Holy Cadre members. Frank, not so much. When they arrive, they see the disarray and split up, go to opposite ends of the town and close in. Nothing. There is a clanging heard and they investigate. This is where they find Gizmo, who Ash immediately goes to kill but is stopped by Frank. Frank takes Gizmo and treats him like a child/puppy. He tucks him shivering into his inner coat pocket. He goes to rejoin the group who are all looking at a house. The lights are flickering on and off as someone's switching the breaker on and off. They walk in and we know it's the house from the opening. They don't, as they split off to different parts of the house. 2 to the basement, 2 upstairs, and the rest remain on the ground floor. In the basement, we hear screams, gunshots, and a screech as lights flicker. They all rush downstairs. One guy has been thrown into the switchboard, and the other guy is dead from the bullets. They hear scattering and giggles all around them, when a light from one of the men falls on the gremlin. They look at it with confusion. Then it screeches and leaps at Ash. Then it screams and leaps as Ash pulls a shotgun and shoots it dead, one-handed. Gizmo stirs for a second. They leave the house and decide to search every house top to bottom. None of them find anything. They go to check the shops. In the general store, they find 5 gremlins. Ash fires off a shot before the creatures run off into the theater carrying various items. One of them is limping as they were hit. They go into the theater where they find all the gremlins hanging out and making a ruckus. The group plans how to set charges and where, all the while Gizmo is hanging out of Frank's pocket, Ash eyeing him with distaste. They set the charges as 2 set the ones behind the screen. They are ambushed and fall through the screen, which Ash, Frank, and the other guy notices. They flee the theater as Ash detonates, sending them all flying. A few survive and attack the 3 remaining. Ash and the other guys shoot the majority of them. Frank bashes them away. Gizmo falls into a puddle of melted snow and begins to writhe. 2 furry balls fly off of him and grow into other gremlins, the softer kind. Ash is in disbelief, staring. One gremlin that survived is messing with Ash's mechanical hand. He throws it off and shoots it, destroying it, and the hand. He refuses to work with Frank if he's going to keep those things. He storms off in the direction of the homes. The other guy looks back at Frank but follows Ash. Frank goes off to a nearby diner and rummages for stuff to eat/feed them. Gizmo doesn't eat whatever Frank finds, but the other 2 dig in greedily. There's a clattering of debris at the door. Frank pulls a pistol and aims. It's Rachel, holding up her hand in a yielding way. Frank asks who she is, and she responds truthfully, saying she has been following him and his partner since the Elm Street incident, saying they have been present for many of the strange occurrences in the past 5 months. Frank asks what she wants, and she responds, the truth. Frank simply says she doesn't want to know. She walks over and sits across from him. Frank sighs. We cut to Ash and the other guy. They have stumbled upon a shed, and it's basically the same from Evil Dead 2, where Ash makes his chainsaw hand, minus the groovy line, because he's too much of a badass for that. Then we cut back to Frank and Rachel as they finish up talking. She thanks him, saying it would be a great article. Frank gets up and puts Gizmo in his front pocket, then goes to the back where Rachel hears him swear. She rushes back and sees the 2 cocoons. They crack open and the gremlins leap out, like the facehuggers from Alien. Ash is there to save them, shooting one and sawing the other in half. Ash asks if they were the fuzzy ones that came from Gizmo, then asks who the woman is. Frank doesn't answer. To this, Ash reaches for Gizmo and Frank pulls away. The last soldier holds Rachel captive. Frank says this is all crazy. Ash says these creatures are dangerous and need to be destroyed, especially Gizmo. He started it all and he could again. Frank says it wasn't his fault. Ash says it doesn't matter, and now that this woman knows, she has to be taken in. The soldier goes to take her and Frank pulls him away from her, throwing him to the wall. He slouches down on the ground and doesn't get up. Frank stands between Rachel and Ash. Ash tells Frank to move, but he doesn't. Ash pulls his shotgun and aims. Frank turns and shields Rachel and Gizmo from the shot. He hands Gizmo to Rachel and tells her to run. He turns just as Ash brings his chainsaw down next to his head. Frank rolls away and moves to leave the building. Ash goes to check the man on the floor. He's dead. He shouts after Frank, "You're just like the rest of them." You monster. Frank leaves, Ash chasing after. In the middle of the street, they fight, and Frank is able to keep his cool and defend against Ash. He is able to make him lose the chainsaw. As Frank runs into the smoldering remains of the theater, Ash aims the gun, and it clicks. He's run out of bullets. He retrieves the chainsaw and puts it back on, following Frank. Ash is wandering down the aisles and making his way to the stage. Frank is watching from the rafters. He calls to Ash, saying it doesn't have to be like this. Ash responds that those things killed his men, and Frank did as well. He walks on and stands on stage. Frank slowly lowers onto the stage behind him. He tries to explain it was an accident. But Ash isn't listening and turns, raising the chainsaw. Frank dodges as he comes down into the stage. Frank dodges as the chainsaw comes down into the stage. Frank grabs a sword prop, which was backstage. They fight, sword to chainsaw, back and forth, stage left to stage right. It gets faster and faster until they get to the center. Then Ash brings his chainsaw down as Frank brings the sword up. Time slows for about 3 seconds as sparks fly in the air, and the air simmers. Zoom in on faces as they are both trying really hard to push back. Frank gets the upper hand, sending Ash flying backwards, and the chainsaw is pulled along the floor by the chain away from his arm. Frank goes to leave. Ash says the sword isn't his, and he'd be a thief as well as a murderer. Frank walks back and stabs the sword into the center of the stage right next to Ash's head, and leaves. And we get a fade out. After the credits, we see Ash in Helsing's office, still disheveled, and the chainsaw device on Helsing's desk. As Ash finishes the rundown of what happened, Helsing thinks. He decides that Frank is now considered a high threat, along with Rachel. But currently they will most likely try to stay low, and they shouldn't worry too much. They are interrupted by an agent named Strickland, who Helsing is... They are interrupted by an agent named Strickland, who asks Helsing if he remembers the subject 2585. He then goes on to say they've found it.